What?
Hey,
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You look great, my friend. This is such an honor. Thank you so
Oh man,
much.
thank you. Wow, you look like you're in a very cool studio. Yeah, look fantastic. I love seeing like in the heart of the young behind you.
Yes,
Very,
yes.
very
I,
cool.
one of my favorites, man. One of my favorites. Man, so much history with you. I got so many. It's such a big part of my life. My cousin is a jazz drummer in New York, and always a huge fan of the Dreg stuff. And he turned me on to your work, and Mahavishnu and Narada Michael Walden and Billy Cobham and all the guys, because that's the world he was in.
Yeah.
And when I got that Dreg stuff, it was just it was changed. It changed the way I listened to music. It was really. I said, "Wow, there's more to this than the Denny Carmassi Montrose record." Which I
Great, which is great.
adore it. It's probably my favorite rock record. But once I got into that jazz fusion world, it was all over, man. I was like, "Wow," you know.
Yeah,
So
so like you mentioned, Narada Michael Walden and Billy Cobham.
yeah.
So I have to tell you about one of my biggest, if not biggest, life-changing events as a musician. So I think it was 1978, the second Winger album, Dixie Dregs album came
Okay.
out, which was called What
What?
If?
Yep.
Right. And we were playing LA for the first time, and we were going to be playing the Roxy Theater, which is right like 20 feet away from the rainbow. You walk
Okay.
out of Roxy and you can walk into the rainbow, right?
Right.
Where Winger did like, our until further notice, we're not sure if this is our last gig ever, but we can
Right.
talk about that a little bit. So,
Right.
so we were playing 2 nights, 2 shows a night, opening for the Billy Cobham band.
Wow.
And if memory serves me correct, I think John Schofield was playing guitar in the
Yeah.
Billy Cobham band, right?
This.
Okay, so the way the Roxy is set up is the stage is maybe 3 feet off the ground, and directly in front of the stage are like little like coffee tables, round tables,
Right.
uh, um, with chairs. And so the people who are sitting in those 3 or 4 tables have their food and drinks, and they can just rest their elbows on the stage watching the band play. So it's
Awesome.
very intimate. I think they can get about 500 people in it.
Okay.
There's a thick curtain that I forget if it raises up. I think, yeah, I think it, yeah. So the curtain is down, and so you don't see the audience until they go, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, right? So in this
Right.
case, please welcome the Dixie Dregs. We start playing. The curtain comes up as if we're not terrified enough because we're opening for the Billy Cobham band. He was my idol at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Number one. Okay. Curtain comes up, and there those tables with their elbows resting on the stage. We have Stanley Clark,
Oh,
Jaco Pastorius,
oh, Jesus.
Narada Michael Walden, Lenny White, and John McLaughlin.
Oh my God.
Right? Someone said to us, I don't know if it was true, that Jeff Beck was further back in the audience. But anyway, here
Wow.
we are, like within a 15-foot radius, you know? Um, it was astounding, and it was like a rite of passage for
Yeah.
us because
Yeah.
these were the guys that we were listening to. John McLaughlin, was the granddaddy of it. I mean, I guess you could say
Absolutely.
Miles Davis was the granddaddy of fusion, but McLaughlin was on the Bitches Brew record and Live
Oh
Eagle,
yeah.
and he started the Mahavishnu Orchestra, which up until that point, when I was probably 17 or 18, like every other American kid, I started with the Beatles, then Jimi Hendrix and Cream, then Led Zeppelin and Jethro Tull.
Right.
and then the Mahavishnu Orchestra, where I left for the moment. I left everything behind, and I had to. And these were records, right? It wasn't
Right, right.
to figure something out and have to listen over and over and over. Like I scratched that first Intermounting Flame record to pieces because I had to figure out what is this guy playing on the drums? I'd never heard anything like it. To me, it was the
It's
first true fusing of rock and jazz elements.
it's
Like
so funny you say that because the record that changed my life was Visions of the Emerald Beyond, and that's the Narda Michael Walden record.
mhm.
And exactly that. I put it on and I said, what is this? This is a machine playing drums. You know, it's like
Love supreme,
yeah,
supreme.
and it's just he's everywhere, all over the kit, and just it was meticulous though. It was planned and structured and just but it was manic at the same time. It blew my mind. I said, "What is this?" And then the voices came in. It's like, it just the skies opened. It really was
Life change.
very
Yeah.
spiritual and musical and all of that. So I completely understand.
Yeah, you understand. So, in 19 the fall of 1973 is when I drove from Long Island, New York, down to Miami, where I went to the University of Miami for my junior and senior year. And it was there that I met the Dixie Dregs. And we were a class called Rock Ensemble Number Two, and blah, 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 blah. But I'm not sure if it was that first semester, fall 73 or winter 74. They brought all the drummers in the department, which there were a lot of us, into a big room, and we were going to be introduced to and entertained by a drummer named Michael Walden, right? And he was not Narada yet.
Right.
He was Michael Walden, and now this is just before that Visions of the Emerald Beyond album came out, which was the third Mahavishnu album.
Right.
When he said, "Yes, I've replaced Billy Cobham," I was so upset. Like, how dare you
Yeah.
even say something like that? That is sacrilege. It's because none of us had ever heard of him.
Right.
But in fact, there he was on that next album when it came out.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I've had him on the show, and he is the most delightful man. He is the most positive, and he's a beautiful, beautiful man.
Wow.
And he talks about that. And Billy Cobham, like yourself, was his idol. He just loved it. He didn't, as a young man, he didn't know what he was going to do putting himself in those shoes. So it's funny that comes full circle. It's just wow,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
and so speaking of Billy Cobham, around the year 2000, my friend T. Lavitz, who was my bandmate in the Dixie Dregs,
Hmm.
he had started the band Jazz is Dead
Yes.
with Billy Cobham on drums, Alfonso Johnson on bass, and Jimmy Herring on guitar, right? And he called me and he said, "Rod, Billy quit the band. Would you like to replace him?" Because he said, "What we're thinking of doing is, for the time being, do you know the drummer? Do you know Jeff Sipe? Do you know the name Jeff Sipe?
I don't.
He's a monstrous jazz fusion drummer from
Wow.
Atlanta, Georgia, and he's a very good friend of Jimmy Herring's, and they all played with Bruce Hampton in Atlanta. Bruce Hampton was
That name
he was an iconic figure in Atlanta who
okay.
he himself could barely play his way out of a paper bag, but he was like a Frank Zappa who couldn't play, but he always knew how to amass the best talent,
Hmm.
and he was so creative with the kind of crazy music
Yeah, yeah.
too. And so Jimmy Herring when Billy left the band, left Jazz is Dead, Jimmy said, "Oh my God, my friend Jeff Sipe, like he'd be so perfect for this because Jeff doesn't even like to play songs; he just wants to jam,
Right, right.
which is perfect for a jam band." So T called me and said, "Yes, so Rod, like you got to do it because you're not going to believe like what it's like to play with Alphonso Johnson." And I was flipping out at the thought of I used to go see
Yeah,
Alphonso
yeah,
Johnson in Weather Report and the Billy Cobham George Duke band.
yeah.
So he said, so the way we're going to do it at first is, we'll have Jeff do 2 weeks of shows, and then you do 2 weeks of shows, and then maybe we'll do a double drummer thing, right? Which is
Right.
exactly what we did. And
Wow.
so, replacing Billy Cobham on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, playing with Alphonso Johnson, it's the kind of stuff that you dream about, when you're a young musician, like, oh my God, like, and I remember when I saw Alphonso Johnson playing bass with the Cobham Duke band, Billy
Oh,
Cobham Duke band in Atlanta, Georgia. I was standing in the audience watching him and just thinking, oh my God, like, what would it be like if I could play with that guy?
right.
And now I fast forward, it was like 25 years there. So
There you are.
going
Unbelievable.
to the first show in San Diego, I was scared to death because also, everything that I had done to that point with the Dixie Dregs and Winger and Platypus, which is a side
Yep.
project. Okay. And my work with Jordan Rudess as our duo.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Everything was certainly challenging, but controlled where I knew for the most part what I'm going to be playing.
Right.
Right. So as the drummer, there's little windows where you have to do the same drum fill
Right, right, right.
but
But
basically,
structured.
so I said to T, so like, what do I do here with these songs? He said, you know what, Rod, we play the melody of the song, the head of the
Right.
song, and then just see where it takes us.
You play over it. Oh, man.
On a Monday, it might go left. On Tuesday, it might go right. You never even know what's. I go, you mean like just free form jamming? He went, kind of. So I was scared to death because, I mean,
Wow.
I'm like a relatively busy drummer if need be. I love it,
Right.
but I was really scared because I had never done anything like this in front of an audience.
It
And then
had to be. It had to be fun though. When you're in it, it has to be a blast.
it was the most fun I've ever had.
That's what I figure. Because you're doing your thing. You can't play anything wrong necessarily, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You know what? Like if you give me an address, I'm gonna send you a Jazz is Dead CD called Grateful Jazz. Now this is
Okay.
with Alfonso Johnson only plays on one song, and then Jimmy Herring left first to be the new Jerry Garcia in the other ones, and
Okay.
now for the last umpteen years he's been playing in Widespread Panic. So
Yeah.
another amazing guitarist by the name of Jeff Pivar.
Yeah. I was just
He
listening.
is so prolific. Jeff had a band
Yeah.
with David Crosby called CPR, and then
Okay.
Jeff he did a Crosby, Stills and Nash tour, and he's played with that list of California
Okay.
dudes. Like
Right.
like Ray Charles, Kenny Loggins, the blah 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 blah.
Man.
Who does Chucky's in Love?
I don't know. God, I just heard his name. Where was it? Oh, it's gonna kill me now.
Yeah. So like, you can email me an address and I'll send you it's my favorite drumming of mine,
Oh,
of the
awesome.
like 50 albums or whatever that I've.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Great. You've done so much and so many different things too.
That's the
Uh,
best part of it, like having not been confined to one particular style. That's
yeah.
the fun, the challenge of, trying to bring your originality along with the understanding of what are the rhythmic tools that make this particular style of music work? So it's like
Right.
you can't play in a metal band like Winger, and like think like all day long. You can go like, miles away,
Right.
you have to you
Well,
gotta be, you have to be smart about whatever style you're playing.
yeah, and I would imagine that, because this is my thought. I hear you play the dreg stuff, and it's fusion. You're doing a lot of things, and it's complex, and it is a lot of drumming. And then I hear you do the Winger more steady rock stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, this is really stripped down and simplified, but I guess it's kind of like playing the blues. You have to feel it, and it's harder. It's just as hard to be slow and steady as it is to be what jazz fusion represents, right? I mean, when you go into something that is stripped down like that and simplified, to be in the pocket and steady, spot on, has to have its own set of difficulties, right?
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. And, I went through a very painful learning experience in terms of uh, having been a fusion snob for a decade and then moving from living in Atlanta, Georgia to New York to find the next thing when I was suddenly unemployed
Yeah,
because the Dixie Dregs and the Steve Morse band ran their course, and it was time to like do the next thing.
right,
But when I first moved to New York, and certainly had no trouble getting my foot in the door to jam with people because they were Dregs fans.
right,
This is prior to Winger, so I'd mostly be jamming with rock musicians, and they'd be so excited, and so maybe someone's going like dum 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 dum, and so I would do the tried and true
I,
simple groove for about four measures, and then I would start getting weird. I would never go back to this, and then I could see like the looks or expressions on some of the musicians go from smiling ear to ear to like, what are you doing
right,
now? And now I sort of got a little defensive because in my mind at that time I thought these are just rock musicians and rock musicians are limited,
right,
as opposed to saying, hey, it doesn't matter what kind of music it is. There's good music in that genre and not so good music.
hmm,
It's not like all challenging fusion music is great and all rock and roll is not.
right, right,
What I mean?
right,
And so there are reasons why certain styles of music sound the way they do. So like, why don't you research that instead of having this attitude that you think a simple drum groove sucks because you've heard it a billion times?
right,
Maybe there's a reason it's been used a billion times because it works,
right, right.
And when, the drumming in Back in Black is kick, snare, kick, snare. Okay,
Yeah,
that's the first drum beat a kid learns to
hmm,
do.
right,
Uh, and so if you're going to play, like, so you hear da, 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 if you're going to go, do, back, do, do,
right,
that's not going to work. You
right,
might have great technique, but you have no clue in terms of what it is that makes a particular piece of music tick. And so grow up and start to have respect, not just for the complicated music,
hmm,
but for the bare bones music. And in some ways, it's more difficult to play simple and have every note exactly in place where they need to be, but have it feel so good to where it's just making people go, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
like you felt when you heard Visions of the Emerald Beyond. But
yeah,
that's a whole other super busy, involved
right,
rhythmically, harmonically, and melodically. Okay, so how do they make you in simple music go, oh my God, you know.
Right.
Okay, so it's a whole different set of rules.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess it would be harder to have that impact because you're not doing as much. So to have an impact and make somebody crave it and appreciate it, you have to play it solid, and it's playing to the song, and that's the wonderful thing that you and the great drummers do is play to the song. We know you're back there, we know what you can do, we've heard it, and it's in other things, but you're right now you're playing to that Back in Black simple thing, and you're killing it. It's just rock solid, it's the foundation, all of that. That's a wonderful thing when you can get a drummer that can do that.
It used to be for me as an immature young player to have to get all my coolest licks in
Right.
return.
It's
So
funny because I was sitting with my cousin who turned me on to all of this, and he loved you, and we're sitting and watching. I think it was MTV. I'm sure. The 17 video comes on, right? And when they introduced it, they said who was in the band, and he heard your name, and yeah, that was it. Shh. The moment had come. And 17, 17 comes on, and he's watching, and I would just watch his face drop, and he's like, "Oh, Rod, what are you doing?" He was mortified. He was absolutely mortified by the world you had stepped into. Because it wasn't Dregs, it wasn't the jazz fusion world that he was in. He was that guy, that drummer, and he's like, "Oh my God!" It was because all your talents were wasted, and I'm thinking to myself, I kind of dig this. This is all right.
there were a lot of people like that. They did a double take. Madeleine was the first video, and it originally aired on Headbangers Ball.
Okay, yeah, and
And I remember hearing it was like from some disgruntled Dregs fan, like, "Oh my God, he sold out for the money." You know, that always makes me laugh because if anybody thinks that all you have to do to make money is play any kind of music, have no clue as to what a crapshoot the music business is.
yeah,
Because for every band like Winger that, for various reasons, broke through and had the success that we had, there are literally hundreds, probably thousands and thousands of bands that never make it out of their basement,
yeah. Oh, sure.
and they could have a song that sounds almost exactly like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
But so many stars have to line up to even give you a shot,
Yep.
at some kind of success.
And it's I know that from seeing and knowing so many musicians on the other side of fame, just great musicians that there's one in a million, there's one on every block. They can't all make it. So having somebody like yourself finding success and giving the gift of your talent to the world. As a fan, hearing what you do is just enriches life. It's just one of those things. And for you to find success with the Dregs and then Winger for so long, and all the other projects too. It's a blessing. It really is. It's a wonderful thing. And we got to talk
Yeah,
about
thank you.
your new project here, Voices of Extreme.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
got the
Voices of
email.
Extreme.
I get the email and your name is on it, and I'm like, okay, because I know Kip's doing his thing and composing classical music and following his heart, and that is
Right.
awesome. But for fans of yourself and Winger Music, and Reb is doing Black Swan, which is an amazing project. Just so great. But what about the other guys? Where's Rod? What's he doing? So I get this email, and it's you, and I said, "Oh, this is great," And then I look, and it's Don Chaffin and Paul Ranieri, and I'm thinking, "Wow." I know these guys, and I had Rick Ventura on when they were doing Riot Act. Riot, a great Long Island band that I really liked. Great rock band. They were doing Riot Act and reliving that stuff a little bit, and Don singing that stuff. And I remember what a great job he did. So yeah, tell me how you got involved with Voices of Extreme and the new project.
Yeah. So a year or two before COVID hit, I was contacted by a guitarist in my area. His name is Joe Cangemi,
Okay.
and he sometimes goes by a stage name Joey Gem. And he told me a tragic story of his beautiful 4-year-old boy who was playing in their front yard, and someone who was texting on their phone jumped the curb, ran him over, didn't even know they killed the kid instantly.
Uh,
And so it was like maybe a year after, he and his wife lost their child, Rocco, that he said music just started pouring out of him and it was helping save him. And he said, I have to get this music recorded for so many reasons, for the memory of my son, and just it's giving me a new purpose in life. And
awesome.
so he contacted me to play drums and Billy Sheehan to play bass. And so when I went to the recording studio for the first day of recording, I met Don, who was going to be the vocalist on it. Now, I didn't know any of these guys. I knew Billy,
Right, right.
and it was a beautiful recording studio. And apparently, it was Don's recording studio
Uh,
in the town of Huntington, which is about 15, 20 minutes from where I live.
okay.
And so then, as the recording proceeded, I couldn't believe like how amazing his voice is,
Yeah.
and like why does the world not know this?
Right.
You know, um, and so we did the recording. It's called the Road Crew. R for Road for Rocco, and Crew C for Cangemi, Rocco Cangemi, and
Nice.
we actually did one concert out east on Long Island in the town of Patchogue. We flew Billy up from Nashville. We did the show, and that was pretty much the end of it, right?
Okay.
And so that was right prior to COVID. So then, like 3 years passed, 4 years passed, and I'm contacted by Don Chafin to
Yeah.
see like if I'd be interested in working on uh, some music. He said I've had this band Voices of Extreme for a few years. I worked it out where we've done shows opening for Tesla,
Yeah.
and he said you might really enjoy the bass player in the band. His name is Paul Ranieri. I didn't know the name, but when he said, he plays with the violinist Mark Wood, I went, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so he's got to be something else. And he said, oh yeah, and he plays a fretless bass. I went, oh, that's going to put an interesting spin on this rock music,
Yep.
which it clearly does. And so I've done recording with them over the last year or so, and we've actually shot a couple of videos. And in February, I have to cut 3 more songs, drums for songs, for this record, and we're going to shoot another video, which I'm excited about. And so, so like it's like over time, little by little, we're becoming more of each other's life, a bigger part of each other's lives, and they're both like the sweetest, loveliest guys. I love hanging out with them
See,
and doing this project. And like we all hope for nice things to come of it. It would be like wonderful. But in the meantime, just he has a new Don has a new recording studio now. Um, it's beautiful. I just love the whole atmosphere of recording with them. It's very low key, laid back. And
Yeah.
what's funny to me is, like I'll kind of do a take and go, all right, I'm ready. Like, all right, let's go again. And they're like, no, we got the track, like that kind of thing. So
Oh, darn.
yeah, so it's like they like the things that I come up with.
Of course they do.
But I've always tried to maintain throughout my career an open mind and open to suggestions. Like, what do I know as far as what's in somebody else's head if they've written the music? I
Right.
hear what I think they would be looking for, but like on not every occasion are they. And so I'll from the get go just say, hey, if you're not hearing something, please let me know. I will not take any offense to it.
Yeah. See, and I mean, that's so pro, and I mean, that's the way you need to be. I think to gel with other musicians. It's a, you're not just, everything doesn't revolve around you. It's once you can hit that stride and be on the same page, there's a real magic that happens. It was so great. The news was so great when I got that email. I said, wow, this is great. I loved seeing you in another rock project. And then I know how Paul plays. He's very lyrical with his bass. He's
Exactly. That's the perfect word.
yeah. I mean, it has its own, it's singing back there, and for you to match that energy is going to be wow. Stoned Babies is the single, and that is out there. Faith in Action is the slated title for now. Sometime
Right.
later this year is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
They don't have a date yet. I mean, obviously, we haven't finished cutting all the songs, and
right.
so until they get done and then it gets mixed and mastered, it won't be able to be handed in, and then it takes several weeks once the label gets their hands on it.
Yeah, yeah, just awesome, just awesome. Well, I want to go back with you too, and I could spend days with you. And please tell me if you've had enough. Um, Ken Scott, I've had on the show. For people who aren't aware, I feel bad for you. Ken Scott, genius producer, George Martin's right hand man, engineer at Abbey Road, involved with Bowie and the Beatles and Supertramp and just
Elton John,
Elton John.
Mother New Orchestra,
Yes,
Stanley Clark, all the breakout fusion albums.
unbelievable. I mean, Ken Scott is an absolute genius. He was just a wonderful man to have too, and to talk to. So, uh, but I have a quote here from him, and it's a little lengthy, but he mentions you. He said, "Rod's an amazing drummer, but he's a grunter." Meaning he grunts when he plays. While we were recording, we heard these strange sounds on his takes. We went through mic after mic playing, trying to find the problem, and finally we realized that the sounds were from Rod grunting when he played. We asked him to stop, but he couldn't. For a lot of the tracks, and he's talking about What If here, we ended up putting gaffer's tape over his mouth to quiet him down. But for Ice Cakes, great track on that album, we really liked what he was doing, and we gave him his own vocal mic. And I read that. Do you remember? Do you recall that?
This is kismet, okay? And I say this because yesterday, not last night, I spent a lot of yesterday. I'm trying to like scale back my life, and one can't imagine how much one accumulates in their life when they start maybe thinking about going through things. So
Right.
forget all the photo albums that I have to go through, right? But there are maybe like 500 or 1,000 loose photographs. And I said, okay, I'm going to start with them and get rid of ones that, I don't need, right? Or if there's doubles. Last night, the last thing that I went through, I found the 8 by 10 photograph of me recording during that album.
No way.
Yeah, I haven't seen this photograph since 1977 or 78 when we recorded. And the reason this is so amazing is that I haven't thought about it in a while. You're just talking about it now. Like the last time someone talked to me about Ken Scott was a million years ago. But
Wow.
when Ken was writing his autobiography, he called me and he said, Rod, you don't happen to have that photo we took when we gaffer taped your mouth because I'd love to include it in the book. And I said, Ken, you know what? Let me go through everything. So I went through where all of my memorabilia is in my house. And it took hours to just go through everything. And I called him back. I said, Ken, it's gone. I can't find it. It was last night when I was dealing like upstairs with all these cabinets with the photo albums and stuff. And I pulled out a box that had like a framed photo of me playing drums.
I,
In the box also was that photo.
wow.
And so
Unbelievable.
I have Ken's phone number from like 10 or 15 years ago when I saw him last. Do you think it's the same?
Let me look and we can communicate. And yeah, I have an email address for him. I know that.
Oh, okay.
So that would probably work. I might have a phone number as well. Because that was probably 2 years ago or so
Oh,
that I
okay.
had him on. Wasn't that long ago.
Is he still living in the States or is he back in England?
He's back in England, and he's teaching, which is how I made contact with him. He's teaching at a university, and I can't remember which one it is right now. But I communicated with him there, and he sent me the email, and we communicated away from the university email. And he was kind enough to come on and tell all the great stories. It was wonderful. He's just such a gentleman. I mean, like you say, there's nothing there's nothing that guy hasn't seen or done. Just
It's incredible, right? The discography.
oh, unbelievable. But that's so great that you found. And I have A to Z, his autobiography right here. And it's great. But I don't recall seeing that photo when you were saying, he wanted it for. It never made it.
Oh, I
Wow.
found it last night. That's what's so insane about it.
He'll have to
You figured it
republish the
out.
book now. It's great. And I wanted to ask you too, like I say, I'm such a fan of your history and what you've done in the past and the present. Have you thought about your own book, writing down your own story and all of that you've gone through and played in your life?
Yeah, of course I've thought about it, and I've had people through the years say, Rod, like, you speak well, and you've had such an interesting career, and like, a lot of people in my life have heard some of the insane stories, and they go, so many people would enjoy these stories. I know how overwhelming the prospect of writing is because I have some drum books that are on the market, and I remember how much effort went into creating them. But then about 15, 17 years ago, when I was physically commuting from Long Island, New York to Boston to teach at Berklee College of Music, 20
Yes.
in person, 30 weeks a year, in addition to touring. I don't know. how I did. I logged about 330,000 miles to do it because it was 535 miles a week,
Oh,
plus about 12 hours in the car, and then the 2 full days of of teaching. Um,
wow.
oh, I forgot, what are we talking about? I just lost my train of
Uh,
thought.
um, um, I can't remember what we were. Uh,
There's a whole point to this story that I'm telling you, and my mind just went completely blank. We were talking about Ken Scott.
right.
Uh,
Oh, the book.
oh, yes, yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I wrote, have these drum books um,
Right.
that are out there in the market, but then they asked me to create for their online division a rock drumming course, right? Which it ran for I think 15 or 16 years, and
Wow.
we ended the run about 6 months ago. So I've been doing it since like 2010. And when they presented the prospect of doing it to me, they said, "Please understand that it'll probably take you about 400 hours of your time." Well, I'd say about 400% more time than that later, about 1,500 hours. And I don't know how I
Wow.
survived it because when, at least for me, when I created this course, it involved creating a 12-week program. And in each of those 12 weeks, you have a major topic with subtopics. You're writing the equivalent of hundreds of pages
Right.
of the book, and then you shoot hours and hours of video demonstrating a lot of the things
Oh,
that you're talking about. But the things that I demonstrated were either from one of two of my drum books or things that I've created in addition. And since I don't know music software, I would scribble everything and then we'd hire a student to put it into the Finale or whatever software they're used, and
right.
then I have to proofread everything. And I come from a family of college professors, and we're like really good proofreaders. And I come across grammatical errors in everything that I read or look at. And I
Yep.
pride myself in whatever I put out there that I have my name on it, you're not going to find a mistake, right?
Right.
So today, like I and no one who's used these two main drum books have ever found one error, right? And so I also would drive home a concept. So let's say I'm talking about um, drum grooves where the bass drum does not hit on the downbeat.
Okay.
Okay. So that, it's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3.
Right. Right. Right.
All right. Well, what do you do if a particular song doesn't come to mind? And I have about 300 some odd drumming examples with the audio, like an edited
Yes.
version of the
Snippet of
audio.
it.
And next to it is the example written out that I would scribble out, give to the student. Now the student gives me what they did, and it's like, oh my God, like, no, that time signature is wrong. No,
Right.
you didn't.
Oh.
Okay, okay. And now it goes back to the student. They send it back to me, and that's okay, but they screwed something else up. Um,
Ah.
yeah, and so how do you find a song with a drum groove to illustrate the concept that you're talking about? So what did I do? I'd go on to iTunes. I would go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick a band,
Right.
two. And now I'd listen to the 100 examples, 30-second clips of
Yep.
songs. And I might not find the drum groove that has a bass drum not hitting on the downbeat, but
Right.
I might find something else. Ooh, a drum beat that displaces the snare backbeat. So
Okay.
like boom, ba, ba.
Right. Right. Right.
So I would buy that tune and tuck it away somewhere where that's going to be when I'm talking about how when you create drum grooves, you know, Most
Right.
blues, when we hear them, have the snare playing on 2 and 4, but ways to create syncopation, or it's like a uniqueness, is to displace one or both of them. So I have that, and then uh, where did I find the song where the bass doesn't play on one? Well, when I said, the chorus needs to have an example from the Police, so it was like Roxanne,
There you go. Right.
but I wasn't looking for it. That it just it's like, oh,
Right.
that's great. But
Uh,
imagine, I'm looking for 300
oh my God.
perfect clips of songs that hopefully everybody has heard,
Right. Right. Right.
not like obscure things.
Right. Yeah.
So piecing this course together,
Good Lord.
and I was in the midst of flying out to play 2 shows with Winger or the Dixie Dregs, and
Hmm.
then up to Berklee to teach, and every minute that I was home, sitting right here, I'd be dealing with that. And so,
Wow. That is an undertaking. I mean,
the course went live before we had the 12 weeks completed. Um, I remember, so they would send me a chapter, a week
right.
one.
Right.
There's so much material. And now here I am in my house. I'm not in Boston. And I would go, oh my God, this course wasn't, they didn't, it wasn't a drummer assembling the course. So when I say in Back in Black by AC/DC, this is tried and true kick snare pattern number 1 with the kick on 1 and 3 and the snare on 2 and 4. And then I look at the music example, and it's the drum groove to, Living in the Past by Jethro Tull in
Right.
5/4. It's because this is not a drummer. They've never seen drum stuff, and
Right.
we're getting things that I sent to them mixed up.
Oh
So
no.
I would have, it's endless notes of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of corrections. Just since I'm on this topic, and this is why
Wow.
I'm talking about, like, sure, write a book.
Right.
Whatever I do and put my stamp on, I want it to be so perfect. And I've read, if not a lot of autobiographies, but some, and Getty Lee's is stellar, but some of the other ones are like, like, it's
Yeah.
great. Kudos to you, but I wouldn't release something like this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I hang on every word.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. I mean, that's what you want. Your name is on it. It's yours. And especially when you're talking about your life, you want to be clear and concise, and
Exactly.
accurate. Yeah, for
But
sure.
so with the course, about, I don't know, 8 years into it, Hal Leonard, the publisher of my drum book, The Drum Set Musician,
Yeah.
which it's an introduction intermediate drum book that teaches the drum set from a musical standpoint, not like here's a book of beats or here's a book of fills or it was like, you know, okay, this is what a time signature means, and most rock and roll is in 4/4 time, meaning there are 4 pulses to each measure, and they're all based
Right.
on a quarter note and an explanation of what that is. And here's the first piece of music, with the most basic chart using, like, pa, pa, which I call tried and true kick snare pattern number 1, right? And then it's like, okay, here's the deal. This is what's called a 12-bar blues. The blues form typically happens in a 12-bar fashion,
Mhm.
and it's 3/4 measures, 3 measures
Read-
of 4/4. I mean, 4 measures of 4/4, and there are 3 phrases. So you go 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4 3 2 3 4 4 2 3 4. Now the next phrase, 1 2 3 4 2 2 2 da, 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 da.
Right. Right.
And the third phrase, da, da, da. Okay, so look at the chart, and typically the way we as drummers begin a new phrase or a new section is we might consider crashing a cymbal on the downbeat, right? And the downbeat is the first note of the measure that's on the pulse, you know. So
Okay.
it's very explicit, and it takes the approach from a musical standpoint, not just a rhythmic standpoint. I co-wrote it with Rick Mattingly, who was the original
Okay.
editor of Modern Drummer magazine for many,
Hmm.
many years. And what a wonderful guy and great educated music person to work with. So um, that book, and thankfully, so many drum instructors use it. I've never found a mistake in it, not one. And you know, I remember the effort that went into it. And so, sure, I have thoughts of like it'd be so great to write a book because I've
Yeah.
there's hundreds of really humorous stories
Right.
and inspirational stories.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I've had some other ideas for like coffee table kind of books, like
Yeah.
interviewing 100 or so musicians who've made it on some level, right? And have them just in as few words as possible talk about the one, two, three lucky breaks where a door opened, and you might not have recognized it when it happened, but when you look back at your life, you know,
Right. Right.
okay, oh my goodness. Like for me, if I hadn't gone to the University of Miami, if I didn't have a teacher at the community college I went to who inspired me to go to the University of Miami because he went there, I
Right.
wouldn't have Steve Morse.
See, and
Yeah.
your life is completely different. Maybe not lesser, but completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
with the Dregs, had we not played the Exit In nightclub in Nashville on the night that we played a year later, or a year or so later, Chuck Leavell from the Allman Brothers would not have been sitting at the bar having a drink on a night off on the Allman Brothers tour and just, hey, let me go check out some country music. And he hears the Dixie Dregs,
Yeah.
and he's the reason, plus the person he was with, Twigs Linden, who worked
Right.
for the Allman Brothers and then came to work for us. The next morning, they said, you know, we're calling Phil Walden, the president of Capricorn Records, to tell him about you. He will sign you. That's how we got our first record. And so I think a book of 100 or so musicians, each telling their unique story, because no two stories are alike.
Right. Right.
It could be such an inspiration to young people that have the dream of having a career. But so just
Yeah.
to finish that story about the Rock Drums online course and
Yeah.
like the insanity. So about 8 years into it, Hal Leonard, the publisher of the Drum Set Musician, said, hey, Rod, we'd like you and Rick Mattingly to do like the second edition, right?
Okay.
Oh, sounds great. So, like, you know, like add things that might be relevant in the 20 years or so since the book came out,
Right.
and take out things that you don't necessarily think are, all right, maybe write some more music for play along tracks. All right. So I spent the next year with Rick and like, okay, let's replace example 8 with this new thing, or let's add it. Let's, you know what? In the chapter on eighth notes, let's do a little segment on odd time and like just a handful of very basic grooves in 7, which is the most popular beat, you know, where you might go like Linda Ronstadt's Get Closer, Want Love, do do do
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
Get Closer,
Right.
3,
Right.
4, 6, 7, 1. Okay. All right. So now we do the new version of the book. It's maybe 5 or 10 pages longer. Certain things are no longer in there. Okay. It never occurred to me, is this going to affect anything in the course because I use the drum set musician in the first 6 weeks of the 12-week course. And so in a video, I will say on page 35, example 2B,
Right.
woke up in a cold sweat one morning where I went, oh my God, page 35. Is it still page 35? I had to
Right.
start course from the first second and go through it And lo and behold, I found, 20, 30
Mistakes.
consistencies because
Right.
in this video on this page of this week's course, I'm playing, you know,
Right. So all of that had
that's on a different.
changed.
It, okay, so I had to take
Ah,
on all of that. So now in the course, in like a handful of videos, it will, have an asterisk and say at 2 minutes and 34 seconds when Rod says, I am playing example, da da da, it is now page da 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 in the second edition of the Drum Set
right.
Musician.
Oh, wow.
Hours, hours and hours and hours. So
Oh,
whenever I think about anything, and we're going back, to an autobiography,
right.
oh my God, I could envision a really fun read.
Yeah.
You can't help as a touring and recording musician to amass insane stories. So
That's good.
some are not for public consumption, unless you
Right.
want them to be. But I would also have to check with certain people in my life
Sure.
if it
They
even.
want that out there.
But
Yeah.
there's enough, PG stuff
Right.
um,
Right.
that just eye opening.
Just interesting stuff, man. What a great life. Really, really great, man. And I have to tell you a story too. I heard of the Dregs getting dropped from the Ian Anderson Jethro Tull tour.
You heard that story?
I had heard that story, and that was
Heartbreaking.
because of the cutout and the track. You had a couple vocal songs with the Dregs, and you'd put this cutout and play a track of the vocal while you guys played live. Really frowned upon tracks at that time, but the way you did it, it was a comical thing because you're not a vocal band. I got it. Well, I guess Ian Anderson didn't like having the track. It's not how he rolls. So you guys get dropped from the tour. The funny thing here, I saw him. It has to be 14 years ago, probably now. Thick as a Brick 2. He had the sequel to the classic Thick as a Brick. I go see him live, and he does them straight through, 1 and 2, the original, and then 2. So he comes out with that riff, that Thick as a Brick flute acoustic guitar thing. Well, he comes out with the guitar, just him, and I hear the flute. Now, I mean, when I think of Ian Anderson, I think of a flute. That's his instrument. So I expect him to be playing the flute. He comes out, he's playing the guitar part, and I hear the flute, but nobody's out there. So, and I've had him on the show just after that. So yeah, I didn't, and I hear he's a touchy guy sometimes. So I don't want to, rub him the wrong way or make him uncomfortable. But I had to ask. So I asked him, you come out and I expected you to be playing the flute. And he said, well, I can't do it all, so that's the one part of the show where there's a track. And I thought to myself, okay.
We were just going to do Crank It Up, one song in the entire set. And it was so funny because we traveled with a mannequin, you
Right,
know,
right,
full on mannequin that's wearing a Dregs shirt and a Dregs hat. It's like, and it's not trying to hide anything. It's like letting the
right,
audience be in on the joke.
right. I totally got it. I thought it was a great idea. But I just found it ironic that, years later, not that many years later, he's playing a track to a flute track at that.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, wow. I was disappointed to say the least. He's I love Tull, I love Ian Anderson, and it didn't sway me against what he
Yeah.
does. I love it, but I just thought the irony was a killer.
They were my hands down favorite band, in like it was around 69 or 70 when This Was came out.
Yeah, yeah.
My two of my closest friends, and then sometimes other friends, we wouldn't miss a Jethro Tull concert whenever they came to New York. So the first one
That was
was
Clyde Bunker years there.
he was my favorite drummer. So they played the Fillmore East, and the first time they opened up for who did they open up for? I can't believe I can't remember. I don't know if it was Blood, Sweat, and Tears or Savoy Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
There were always three bands on the bill, but they were not the headliner the first time we saw them.
Yeah.
Uh, by the stand-up album, they were headliners. Just insane.
Ah,
Insane.
just
Such an amazing bit. What a talent. And so Clyde Bunker really at that time he was my guy, right? And so years later, I was an endorser of Premier Drums for about 34 years, right?
okay.
And so 20 some odd years ago, I was in England doing a drum clinic tour, and the rep from Premier, who was taking me from city to city, he surprised me by inviting Clive Bunker to come to my clinic.
Oh, no way.
I remember like them say, Rod, someone, would like to say, oh, it was so thrilling, right? And then about how many years ago is it now? Again, right somewhere around COVID, maybe right after COVID or before it, Martin Barr was doing a tour of the 40 or 50 years of Jethro Tull, right? Ian fired the whole band,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, apparently it didn't go down very, sweetly.
Right.
But I knew I was going to see Martin Barr with a whole other group of musicians. There's Clive Bunker double drumming with the drummer's a great drummer, and he's on the tip of my tongue. He played drums on Jordan Rudess's most recent solo record.
Oh. Yeah.
Great guy. But so Clive would come out and do a song and then leave and then come out. But I brought my friend who freaked out because I said, Randy, take a picture with Clive. He took photos with Clive. He was so lovely.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is so cool.
It's great. You got to be really careful when you meet your idols because, we tend to forget that they're just human beings with all the foibles like the rest of us,
Yep. Yep.
And so I've on occasion, met someone that I regretted because they were having a bad day or they were nasty or something.
Right. Right.
But it was fantastic.
Yeah. See, that's
Live
awesome.
again.
That's so cool. That is so cool. I want to ask you. I've been curious about this for years. We know this as the self-titled Winger debut, right? The one that says Sahara on it. This is the Sahara record. This isn't self-titled at all. Tell me that's got to be a great story. It's got to be horrific to Kip, right? Whoever wanted the Sahara name on it, and it was just missed. How does that happen?
That was the name of the band. We were called Sahara. Now, first of all, Winger was not a band, right? There were never club dates. The band never existed.
Right.
It was Kip, Winger, and Reb Beach writing demos, having them shopped to every label in New York, and being rejected from every label in New York.
Of course.
A couple of times, maybe 3 times, maybe more, and eventually getting signed by Atlantic Records. The album was handed in to the label like on a Thursday or a Friday, right? And then I guess their legal department does research. They got contacted by like a Holiday Inn band somewhere in the Midwest threatening a lawsuit. They said, hey, the name of our band is Sahara. You can't use it. So our band, Sahara, in a moment's notice, had to change the name, and so it became Winger
Wow.
like a minute later.
That's so wild.
But thought, I forget whose idea it was. You know what? Let's just in faded letters have Sahara on there, so it'll be a story.
Yeah, and I mean, it's noticeable, but not really. It says Winger, and the album on the spine says Winger, Winger. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, the Sahara doesn't ever come into play, but I'm a liner's note guy, liner notes guy, and I'm reading, and I'm looking at every spec of the record when I'm listening to it, and I noticed the Sahara letters, and I was like, what is that? And I thought maybe it was the name of the album, but I had heard the story a little bit, that it had gotten forgotten is the story, how's the story went. But yeah, that's, wow, the band would have been Sahara.
You know, um, Same but different. I'm reminded of the Dixie Dregs "What If" album, where if you look at it, it's a weird cover.
It is weird. Yeah.
Like red, and then in the middle is this blurred gray or whatever. All
Yeah.
right. So it's such a disappointing artwork design to us, right?
Yeah.
One day when the album was out, some fan came to a concert and gave us like a big college paper that he wrote on the meaning of the What If album. Went into all this elaborate description, and we said, dude, maybe we didn't tell him because we didn't want to like break his heart with all the work that he put into this thing.
Right.
The art person at Capricorn Records found a photo in a beautiful photography book where a photographer had taken a blanket, went to the ocean, threw the blanket in the air, and took the photo as it descended. Okay.
Right.
And the original photo was gorgeous. But at the record label, they took the photo, and it had the photograph had all kinds of depth in it because the blanket is, the wind of
Right.
the blanket. They turned the blanket just into like red, and then that middle is the photograph. It's upside down. If you turn it around, you'll see, oh, it's the ocean with a gray sky. That's all it is. And they blurred it. Like they screwed it up in production. So this beautiful floating, red but with depth
Yeah.
blanket turned into like the stupidest album cover. It really destroyed.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll have to look at it closer. Yeah, it was a very strange cover. Yeah, very bland, but I mean, it was arty. I'll give it that. So intriguing. What is it?
On that same album, with the grunting sounds that sounded like alien sounds. Also, the first day we met Ken Scott, he took us into a rehearsal facility and said, "All right, let's hear the songs that we're going to be recording." First song we played for him was "Take It Off the Top," right, which turns out to be the opening song
Right.
album. And to say he reamed me out was an understatement. He destroyed me, right? And I did get defensive. We did not have a good first outing because I played that song much busier than it ended up on the record, and he was trying to like educate me about
Okay.
how to record drums and to make an impact, and so like in that section, I was going like but a little more like Keith Moon.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
By the time he finished with me, it was just
Okay. Yeah.
right, but smoke coming out of my ears. Like
Yeah.
I really, did not take it lightly. In the end, I learned so much from him.
Right. Right.
What I mean? Here I am. I'm recording my second album, right?
Right, right.
He's already recorded several Beatles albums and lead engineer on the White Album
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all those other, the luminaries. Uh, but yes, so when we run into each other every umpteen years, we have a laugh
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Do we have time like for a couple more?
Yeah, if you got the time, I got the time. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so this is great. So when the Dixie Dregs, flew to California for our very first time being there to do the Freefall album, our first album, we were cutting the drums, but back then everybody plays together to give the drummer a vibe, and maybe they're going to keep a lot of the other
Right,
instruments
right.
as opposed to scratching them all and starting from the beginning. Okay, so a lot of the Dreg stuff is very challenging and fun, and every album, we're like an esoteric band where there's going to be some sort of a country thing, a classical thing, a
Right,
rock.
right.
That's like our calling card.
Yeah, you're gonna do it all in one
All
album.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just got through maybe Wages of Weirdness. All right, Rod, let's do something easy. Let's do Motown. Okay, so it's like right.
Right,
I'm going
right.
oompa oompa oompa. The control room door opens. Right, I'm cutting my drums, and Ringo Starr and his
Oh, wow.
walk into the control. Okay, I'm 23 years old. Where this is the only thing that's important to me.
Right.
Okay. And it's the guy who is the reason I became a drummer. Seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in February of 1964. So I'm flipping out for two reasons. One, that's a Beatle. That's Ringo Starr. And I'm playing oompa, oompa, oompa,
Right.
as if Ringo Starr could care less, right?
Right.
Okay. So we got to meet Ringo. We didn't have cameras. We certainly didn't have. I have no photo of taking a photograph with Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
So, okay, that was 1976. Fast forward to about 2010 or thereabouts. Ken Scott contacted me to tell me he's doing this big drum project with a company that's doing loops and sounds, and they said, Ken, we want you to choose 5 or 6 of the drummers that you've worked with in your career, right? And so
Right.
he asked me to be part of it, along with, I think, Billy Cobham, Simon Phillips, Terry Bozzio,
Oh,
the drummer from Supertramp, and the drummer from David Bowie during Spider from Mars, period.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so I flew to California, and the whole idea was, he said, I want you to learn these songs from What If and Night of the Living Dregs. Try to play them exactly as you played them, as close to it.
As the record. Yeah.
And he said, and we're going to try to recreate the drum sound. And they found a Fibes drum set. I was playing Fibes back then before I became an endorser.
Yeah.
And Paiste cymbals and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So he then said, when we finally got set up and it's time to start, now we're doing, a few hours in the morning, take a lunch break, then second half of the day. He said, when you finish a song, and you'll be playing along to it, right? And just do your best. When the
Right.
song ends, play as long as you want because, we're trying to get all kinds of interesting things. So if you want to jam for 5 or 10 minutes,
Okay.
crazy, do it. So it's like, country house shuffle, do 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 do
Yeah.
yeah. All right. We take a lunch break, and somehow the story of Ringo Starr walking into the Dregs session came up in lunch, and they're all laughing, right? So we go back in the studio. I just told the story. I'm at the drums, and Ken says, hey, you just ate lunch. You're probably full. Let's start easy. Let's do the country song. I forget. Maybe it was like Gina Lola break.
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh,
Okay. All right. It's like all morning I've been doing this show off stuff, you know. I'm going oompa oompa oompa,
right.
and I see someone walk into the studio, and like I wasn't gonna jam after that song because it's just oompa oompa. They
Yeah.
go, "Hey Rod, someone wants to say hello." They walk. It's Keith Emerson.
Oh
He's been
yeah.
watching me go oompa 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 oompa. So you could go on YouTube and type in his name and my name, and they videotaped me talking to him.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
told, I think I'm telling the story, right? They, like this is like a repeat of the nightmare, you know. And he's laughing. And then I had recently recorded a Jordan Rudess solo record, right?
right.
And so so I said to Keith, I don't know if you remember a NAMM show like 5 years ago or whatever, but Jordan Rudess and I, Jordan, the keyboard player, he and I, we opened up for your band.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, and the middle band was Niacin,
Okay.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
With Dennis Chambers and Billy Sheehan.
Yeah.
So, so Keith said, "Yeah, I know Jordan, of course, and you know, do you know he does Tarkus on his new solo record?" So I went, "Yeah, I do, because I'm the drummer." So I
I
said,
love it.
"You're the drummer?" You know, it was very funny.
That's cool. That's, man, oh man.
Yeah,
Those are the things, it's just when you're playing and in those atmospheres that you've been in, you're gonna get stories like that, man. It's so cool. It's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I wanted to ask you too, the Fiona record. Because you've done so much, and I think, yeah, I think about the Dregs, and then I think about going to Winger, and it's really quite different. And then, the Fiona record again, really, really different. But that band, you and Kip. You got Brad Gillis there. I mean, you got Keith Olsen and Bo Hill behind the glass. It just it's a formula for success. I mean, it just what was that session like? Playing because it's a
yeah.
pop record,
Yeah, but I didn't. I think I only did one song on the record. I don't think I did. I think.
really. Okay,
Um,
okay,
and for that song, I think it might have been "Sexing You," right? You're sexing me, or
yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So all they wanted me to do was all the cymbals because they had programmed a basic drum beat that they were
Okay,
going to, if I'm remembering this correctly. And so it had a whole cymbal set up. And I think I was playing like a two surface riding groove in maybe the choruses. So you're using both the cymbal and the hi hat, and then
right.
bring the hi hat hand over to hit the snare on the backbeat. But there wasn't a snare. So I
It
was
was
just hitting
program a
I
pad.
was hitting
Yeah.
my leg, not even a pad. I was
Okay.
hitting
Wow.
and didn't think about anything. When you have music blasting, this is pre-isolation headphones.
Yeah. 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 Wow.
I woke up the next morning and like I screamed out loud. I looked at my leg. It had a, what do they call it? When you have
Uh,
purple, red, and blue.
yeah, it's all bruised like from
Oh
the
my! It was
beating
like,
your leg to death.
yeah, like, yeah.
Wow.
I had like ruptured multiple blood vessels.
Wow. Wow.
Crazy.
That is crazy, man. Let's touch on your wing thing. Because that's really this is a great thing for you, right? But it's great for the drummers. The wing thing drum tool, you got another one coming out called the Rod Driver. There you go.
Here's a wing thing.
Yes.
Um, yeah, we're not quite to the production point yet of the rod driver, but I mean, I think it's going to you know, really take the drumming world by storm because it completely changes the concept of the drum key.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't really
Yeah.
want to say more about it.
Right.
I didn't even come up with the name Rod Driver, but it's
It's fitting.
clever. Um, with the wing thing for decades, probably for 40 years, I've had the idea of having like what I would always refer to as a survival drummer's toolkit, because every drummer has certain issues that come up on a drum set.
Mhm.
Like you're playing the snare and all of a sudden one of the wires on the snare wires underneath
Right.
they snap. One side of it snaps. So now you have this dangling wire. It's
Right.
hitting your leg. It can puncture, your skin. And then it's just flopping around. And so since I never ever would have a proper tool, I put my hand under it and now I just keep doing this until the wire snaps off. But if
Okay.
you have a wire cutter,
Yep.
one motion and you're done.
Right.
Go on with your business. So that through the years, sort of morphed into, whoa, no, what if there are specific one of a kind tools made for the drummer,
Yeah.
to take care of, one or more of those issues that we all deal with. So, for years, and this happens to every drummer, nearly every drummer, you want to change the height of a cymbal stand, but you haven't had your hand on one of the wing nuts for a year. Well,
Yeah.
you sometimes can't budget with
Right.
all, and then you can really hurt your fingers,
I bet.
the palm of your hand and the wrist. And so what nearly every drummer does is you take your pair of drumsticks and you put one on top of the wing nut, one
Right.
under, and you crank. On certain occasions, like it'll slip off. I've hit myself in the head.
Hmm.
This is so ridiculous. There's got to be a better way. Okay, at times I would use a pair of pliers, but now you have metal on metal.
Right.
And
You're
to
hacking up your set. Yeah.
never would have a pair of pliers on me. For some, you think it's so easy, just throw it into your hand.
Yeah.
So, um, so that's how this whole concept of having a tool where it just here's the wing nut,
Yep.
and you slide it over it, and if it's tight, you barely have to put any torque to it.
Yep.
You loosen it up, and then um, you know, through the years, I would have things happen where, like, I crash a cymbal and the tilter loose has been
Right.
loose up. I didn't know it, and now the cymbal falls over. Or the worst is the hi-hat cymbals where you have one on top of the other.
Right.
So, you hand tighten the wing nut, but if you have a heavy foot that's going chick, 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 chick,
Right.
pedal, sometimes
It'll fall.
no,
Oh,
no,
it'll come apart. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll creep up.
Right. Right.
Won't totally loosen up and fall. It just loosens up enough to where it won't stay adhered to that rod. And
Right.
so like a gentle crank to tighten it. So, it's very exciting because it's a slow progress, but it's just constantly, moving upward. We have it in 50 some odd guitar centers. And
Okay.
it's on
Yeah.
Amazon, and it's in a bunch of drum shops around the country. And Musician's Friend, which is part of Guitar Center, and
Yep.
Thomann, which is it's the European version of Sweetwater.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
A giant company, and a lot of really great drummers and their techs are using it. Mike
Yep.
Mangini, Mike Portnoy's tech,
Yep.
Jose Baracchio, Jimmy Clark, who is Lars Ulrich's tech. Metallica
All right.
has a dozen of them because Metallica has a lot of drum sets.
Right.
Ray Luzier from Korn,
Yep.
loved Mike Tirana, who played with Yngwie among a lot of other people. I'm trying to think. Oh, so a couple of months ago, my partner, Jim Meradian, got a text from Lorne Wheaton, who was Neil Peart's tech
Okay.
for many, many years, right? When we toured with Rush, when the Steve Morse band toured with Rush, Larry Allen was Neil's tech, just
Okay.
one. But Lorne Wheaton has been Neil Peart's tech until his passing, and he will be
Right.
Annika Niles' tech. I
Okay.
think, pretty
I,
sure.
I
So
think I saw the picture of Annika with the wing thing tool.
yeah, so Lauren, who loves the wing thing, I guess he took she likes it. Right? He took
Yeah.
a picture of her with it, sent it to my partner, who sent it to me and said, "Look at this, Rod." And
Yep.
Lauren said, "Yeah, use it to promote
Absolutely.
in any way you can." So people can go to morgensteintool.com
Yeah. There'll be a link in the
to
description.
read about it. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
So
Every drummer should have it, you know. I mean, I'm not a drummer, but I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, that is just genius. I can see the shape of the wing, in the tool, and I'm like, that's got to be so easy, you know.
it makes for a good like special ops tool. It's pretty substantial, and it comes with a lifetime guarantee, even if you're not the original owner. You know what
See,
I mean?
look at that.
Just pass it down from person to person, and like it's indestructible unless you put a chainsaw to it.
Right, right. That's great, man. And I saw that picture, and I have to ask you this because I just think it's an interesting thing. I had Mike Portnoy on the show, and we talked about, and this was before Neil had passed, and we talked about ever having that opportunity. He's a huge Rush fan, so we talked about that kind of thing and playing with them. I would present that with you. I saw the picture and I thought, man, Rod, that made that tool. And now I'm thinking, Rod and Rush, he would be like a really great, because that early fusion stuff that you were doing was, and you have the rock background, it's like a perfect fit, If you got that call, is that a gig you take? Would you have taken that gig?
I mean, how can you not think like that? But I mean, I was asked, some years after Neil passed, like, and I have like a person in particular who I'm thinking of who has dealt with Rush's management and said, Rod, why don't you want me to call them? And I for whatever reason, I just didn't want to.
Okay. Yeah. Understandable for sure.
And the thing is, the last shows that I did when I was a member of the Steve Morse band, because I then joined Winger, like not long after, we did 3 legs of the Power Windows tour with Rush.
Right.
So we did about 45 shows with them, and they were so gracious to us. I mean, I've had some really bad experiences being in a support band
Yeah. Yeah.
where the headliner or their crew or certain people in their entourage, they do not, extend
Yeah.
like support to
Right.
you.
A lot of times we'll sabotage the band.
It's
Yeah.
terrible because everyone before they made it knows what it's like to be treated badly. And in the case of Neil, Geddy, and Alex, and I've been reading. I mean, I just finished Geddy Lee's My
Yeah.
Effing Life autobiography. It's
Right.
fabulous, right? It's
Ah,
so well written. I didn't find one typo in the 560 or so pages.
yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, and so he talks about like, which bands, treated them very well and which
Yeah.
didn't. And he said, we always go out of our way. We make every effort to make sure they get a sound check, even if we're having technical problems with
Right.
because our shows have been very elaborate. Yeah, the 3 of them, it was so nice meeting them and hanging with them. I spent the most time with Geddy and Neil. I would throw the baseball with Geddy in the arenas because he's an avid baseball fan.
Yep.
And being a drummer, Neil, he shunned the public because he was, I guess, I don't know that he was a shy guy, but he's a man of no pretense. Like,
Right.
he wants to make sure that he's taking care of business every waking moment. And that
Yeah.
guy was so prolific.
Yeah.
So many,
Crazy.
but I hung out with him a lot. And in fact, I was the first drummer, I believe, that was called to do the Buddy Rich Burning for Buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had just gotten home from Australia from a drum clinic tour, and my wife Michelle picked me up at Kennedy Airport. We came home. My suitcase was on the floor, and the phone rings, and it was, "Hey, Rod, this is Kathy Rich." And
Yeah.
my husband, I know. Oh, I know Steve Arnold. They're not married anymore,
Right.
but this was 1994 or 95. And she said, "Yeah, we've been talking with Neil Peart, and he's a big lover of big band music, and he loved my dad's drumming and
Yeah.
music, and so he thinks with his celebrity he could bring the music of my dad to the rock audience, and he said he knows you better than anybody.
See,
Um,
that's
we're
cool.
thinking about you, and so okay, so that put me into a tizzy. I was projecting the thought of being like in the power station in New York City facing the Buddy Rich Big Band with a live
Right.
action camera. Yeah, it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my professional career. But Steve Gadd also said he was a wreck, So if he could say it, then it's okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
So since you're bringing it up, I have to tell you, it's a very long story. I'm going to tell you like a shortened version. So as soon as I hung up, right, I went, oh my God, like I can't do this, right? Like I can tell everybody I was invited to do it, but I can't do it. So Michelle came in the room and said, "You look like you've just seen a ghost. Who was that on the phone?" I went, oh my God, it was Buddy Rich's brother, like Neil Peart, blah, 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 and I can't do it. And she said, "Rod." I went, "What?" She said, "You're a man, right? And you're gonna do it, right?" I went, "Yeah." And I mean, obviously, I'm glad I did, which was
Obviously.
good.
Yeah. That's
But
classic.
there was a horrible circumstantial moment for me where the phone call came in February, and they said, "Okay, the recording's going to happen over 2 weeks in May."
Yeah.
So 3 months, right? And then they also said to me, Kathy told me, she said, on my dad's deathbed, he said, all my life I've had three show-stopping numbers, but I want you to put two of them to rest. One is the West Side Story Suite, and then another one is the Channel One Suite. I don't want them ever to be played again, but it's okay if Good News, which
Okay.
is like an 8 minute or 10 minute song.
Right.
That she said, we're sending you that chart. I went,
Wow.
God, okay. So now remember, like I'm racing to Boston to teach at Berklee,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
about two winger shows. Okay.
Oh, good
Um,
Lord.
2 days before it's my day to go into New York City to record with the Buddy Rich Big Band,
That is massive pressure.
they call me frantically. Rod, we got a problem. I go, what? When word got out about this project, every drummer in America, has been calling saying, I want to be on the record. Why didn't you call me? And so there's more drummers that are going to be on the record than originally planned. And there's not going to be enough time on a CD for one drummer to play a 10-minute song. So what do you want to do? They said to me, so what do you want? I went, I don't
Wow.
know Buddy's catalog. Like they said, well, here's three songs that haven't been done, that no one's doing. So we'll send them to you, pick one, and that's what's going on the record. We will record Good News, so we have it in the can if there are any future releases. And so my song that's on Burning for Buddy, I had one day.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
fortunately, it was fine.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. I can't think what it was. But good news is on tape somewhere, right?
okay, you did
And so
record it. Yeah.
they called me a year later and said, "Hey, good news, bad news. There's going to be a second album, okay? And good news, your track, if Kathy Rich opts out of singing a song, good news will make it on." And then they called and said, "Kathy wants to sing on the album."
Of course she
And
does.
and there originally was supposed to be three albums, and they never did the third one.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
it's sitting somewhere being corrupted.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that work, 3 months
Yeah. Yeah.
of hours. I memorized the chart. I mean, it was, multiple pages.
Yeah. Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long tune and not simple.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a real honor, first being called at all,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then them giving me that showstopper number.
Right.
Uh,
Pretty
and
great.
and then to kick off the release of the album, a concert was held at the Manhattan Center in New York City, and there I got to do Good News.
Oh, cool. Ah, that's great.
But they were not allowed to videotape the concert because of union
Yep.
rules. They didn't
Ah,
pony up all the money, so
right.
none of that got recorded. But and at that concert in the afternoon, I got together with Dave Weckl and Greg Bissonette. We
Oh,
worked out a three-man drum solo.
oh,
Recorded. And
oh,
a
man.
lot of people played there. Neil Peart played, Kenny Aronoff, Matt Sorum, um, Dave Weckl, and Greg, and
Wow.
about four or five other drummers.
Just, I mean, those names, man. Wow. Just had to be amazing. Had to be amazing.
I
Wow.
have and because I and going through all these photos that I went through,
Yeah.
tonight I came across a photo of Neil, me, Kathy Rich, Kenny Aronoff, and Matt Sorum. Yeah, I have an 8x10 of that.
It's just crazy.
Yeah,
Man, oh man. What a great life, man.
it's a
You've
great
done
one. Yeah,
you have done, there's a lot of guys that are given life opportunities like you've had and really squander it, and with addictions or just bad decisions or whatever it might be.
yeah.
You've done so well with what you've earned and what you've been given and the luck and the path and all of that. You've just really just worked it so well and walked that path so well.
I feel really fortunate that I've gotten to work with some of the most immensely talented musicians.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Kip Winger, like with the classical world that he is in now. I saw his violin concerto performed by the Nashville Symphony
Yeah.
a few months ago with, I think, the concertmaster violinist was from the Chicago Symphony. Um, and Steve Morse and Jordan Rudess and Alfonso
Um,
Johnson, and all the Dregs.
yeah, I'm looking at Platypus and
Jerry
Jellycam
Goodman.
and
Jerry
you
Goodman
know,
played violin in the Dregs for years.
right, right. Just
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah,
If
right.
Yeah, John Mayung and Ty Tabor. I
Eric
mean,
Sherinian. Yeah,
I just saw King's X, and I'm a fan and an admirer, but I don't really know the catalog as well as I should probably.
yeah.
And really respect them. I know how great they are, but I had never seen them. I got a chance to see them. Oh my lord!
They're one of those. They're one of those unsung hero bands. Like big time musicians will go, "Oh my God, King's X."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't, it's this magical thing that happens when those guys get together and it doesn't really matter what the sounds they make are. You know what I mean? You don't have to like like the song or know the song, or it's just this something magical happens when when they make sound, whatever that sound is. It's just magical. Ever whatever it is, every single note is just. I was stunned. I was sitting there just looking and like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Just really, really something. Just so great. They were just worked, and I love seeing that, and it's very rare that I see that. I see great bands, and I enjoy the music and everything, but when you see something like that, where it's just this magical thing. It's just so satisfying. They were just so great. Ty Tabor, just a crazy great
I,
player.
amazing. And
He
he
is.
he is so fast. Um, I remember, uh, like one day we would rehearse at my house with the Jelly Jam. Well, both the two
Yeah.
Platypus records and then the 4 or 5 Jelly Jam records. We rehearsed or worked on music for the first 2 Jelly Jam records here. And I just remember like one day, John saying, "Hey guys, I got this bass line, doom, and then like Ty went, oh, he like finished it. He went, oh my God, I know what the song's about. Okay, and within minutes, we had the makings of like an amazing song.
It's crazy.
Another one of these hands-on guys, like a Don Chafin from Voices of Extreme,
Yeah.
like it's not just the guitarist and writer of music and lyrics. Uh, both of those guys and Steve Morse,
Yeah.
and Jordan and Kip, they know how to
Yep.
twist all the knobs in the studio, arrange, produce,
It's
and
it's
then
so cool.
shoot videos, take an interest in all aspects of all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It
I
is crazy. Yeah, it's great to see you with all those guys, and you are one of those guys, man.
Thank you so much. This has been
Uh,
an absolute pleasure.
Rod, this has been an honor, the dream come true for me. Thank you so much.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, let's exchange the information. I'll get you Ken Scott's email from a couple years back, but I would say that it probably is
I'm
still.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
And then give me an address where I can send a Grateful Jazz is Dead CD to.
that is just awesome, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll sign off. Dr. Music Podcast. Thank you so much. And we got the Voices of Extreme coming out later this year. We're gonna be looking for that. The Wing Thing tool, Morgenstein tool. Links there to get that. Rod Morgenstein, the legend himself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. It was
All
beautiful.
right. All right. Hang on, and we'll exchange information. All right. Bye now.